This video is dedicated to James Humphreys. James, thank you. Alela Cunning Conqueror versus Krav Regna, Hapatra and Iroas. Wasn't going to show you this game, but I've run out of time, and yeah, we do struggle with games and Alela Cunning Conqueror, so hopefully you all enjoy this one anyway. I will whip through it as quickly as I can during the replay function here, because I did forget to hit the record button. Decide to start with this first opening hand in the hope that we can ship something back with Vendilion Clique, just looking at the dig through time at the moment, because we do want to be getting into ramping this Dimir deck, because it's the one aspect of Dimir that struggles. Decide to get a tap land down first, and just so happen to draw into a wave break hippocamp, so we can cantrip during our opponent's turns quite easily with that. And it just so happens we can get it down on turn 2 thanks to the Ancient Tomb as well. Hapatra coming down on turn 2 as you would expect, so we're seeing plenty of minus counters from that. And fixing the white mana over here is an Arcane Signet, which allows him into land tax, and the first player in the cycle is over here, and he's green, so should be triggering land tax a decent amount. We draw into an island. I decide to get down the Ancient Tomb and the hippocamp, so we can get those cantrips going like I said. And then it's a turn 3 Whisper Silk Cloak. I tend to play equipments when I can equip them in the same turn. Means holding off from them, but it means that it's less obvious what your opponents are going to do, or what you are going to do to your opponents. Yeah, you're not projecting that as much. So anyway, getting down the Whisper Silk Cloak, swings into the left and hits, managing to put a minus counter on the hippocamp, which makes a Death Touching Snake token. The land tax triggers for the first time. I think my opponent gets 3 basics here and manages to fix his white mana obviously, but decides to hold back and not do much of anything, so I think I'm deciding to go for the Vendilion Clique here. I think I just passed through the turn as well. No attacks. A Rising of the Day for the Boros player, buffs the legendaries and gives everything haste. Everything on his side of the field anyway. Now I'm thinking I'm going to be responding to a Hapatra trigger with the Vendilion Clique, but my opponent responded to the Whisper Silk Cloak trigger, going on to Hapatra with a Swords to Plowshares. So down goes Hapatra, and we do manage to keep our wave break hippocamp and hold on to the fairy for now as well. Then it's another land tax followed by a demonic tutor for our opponent, and throws out a Daxos blessed by the sun. I am wondering whether or not to point the Vendilion Clique over there at him. Decide to point it at myself and get rid of the Kraken that we'd drawn into, so trading that out for a Drowned Catacomb, and the fact that Hapatra is going to cost 6 to play and equip with the equipment means that he scoops early on us and gets a ban. So then I throw out the Kindred Discovery and swing in with the Vendilion Clique, which we played previously. Swing in at the left with that, draws us into a Notorious Throng, which will be some extra fairy tokens and an extra turn at some point. Tori the Avenant now, and that is Vigilance Trample, swings in as a 4/3, getting buffed by the enchantment, and it untaps white creatures, gives trample to red creatures. They swing in at us with that, and we just decide to take it. So I'm not sure what they tutored for, but it may well have been the Crested Sunmare, which does trigger on entry with the Daxos. So at the end of the turn they get an indestructible 5/5 horse. So now I'm starting to think about gold with our commander, getting another life from the token entering as well. And there we see a Brainstorm, which is nice with our commander, so that helps make my mind up for me. Get the fetch out, get out Alela Cunning Conqueror, and we'll be able to play some stuff at instant speed. She cantrips with the Kindred Discovery for a Shroud Enabler with Scion of Una, and we draw Mutavol upon the Vendilion Clique, swinging into the right so that we can goad, and the commander decided to goad the Crested Sunmare so we can't get a 5/5 turning in towards us, hoping that the 2 big creatures will trade. Alright, a Beamtown Beatstick has been played and equipped to the legendary now, so that is Haste, Menace, Vigilance and Trample coming in at us. I decide to take it because it's got Trample, but before that, see what we'll get with the Brainstorm. Draw a bunch of cards and put them on top. I put Can't keep track of the damn client now, but basically just put 2 lands on top. I think it was Mutavault and a Bojuka Bog that we put on top. The rest stays in hand. Obviously we draw from the Kindred Discovery tokens as well. And then speaking of goad, there is Grenzo Havoc Razor. So ironically we could goad this and it would go on to goad our opponent's stuff potentially. Drawn into Memory Deluge and the Brazen Borrower here. And now there's a Yawgmoth Ramphysician. Doesn't have a lot of little tokens for that, so it's not as bad as it could be. See if we can make the client go a little bit slower here. Triggers the Daxos upon entry, so that will be another indestructible horse. So that has to swing into the left thanks to our Fairy Goad shenanigans. And the indestructible horse swings in towards us, so I think I decide to give up on the Wavebreak Hippocamp at this point, as much as I'd like to leave it in play. So yeah, I decide to chump block there. The 5-5 goes in the way of the horse, or the 5-3 goes in the way of the 5-5, which is what I was hoping for. Instead of allowing them to destroy each other, the Yawgmoth sacrificed the token, or the Crested Sunmare that was going down anyway, and it got rid of our Vendilion Clique, so that our opponent could draw a card there. Traded out the fetch for a Watery Grave, and now it's round to our turn. So draw into a command tower and go through to attack straight away. I'm looking at gold at this point, so if our opponent decides to get rid of one of the tokens with a horse, then so be it. It means that there'll be fewer creatures for him to swing in at us with. Kindred Discovery triggers twice. It's noteworthy I take the Alela in at the right and the token in at the left, because it's less likely that Yawgmoth will be activated then, and we do want to be landing these goads. So draw 2 with the Kindred Discovery, get into a Bitter Blossom, and Deadly Rollick is a great draw. That's probably going on to the Yawgmoth depending on what he does, because I was thinking of goading the Yawgmoth to try and get rid of it here, what with there being a Vigilance creature here, so probably would get rid of Yawgmoth there, but instead decide to goad the Daxos upon hitting our opponents, and goad the Grenzo for further goads on our opponent's stuff, which will, ironically, further protect us if he decides to do that. So then we're just aiming for an extra turn here with the Notorious Throng, I think. Would have been nice to land the damage with Vendilion Clique for more fairy tokens, more damage on our opponents, but it's really the extra turn that we're doing this for. So yeah, decided on the Notorious Throng so that we could get some more fairies into play and get an extra turn here. In response, the Orzhov player taps out into Teferi's Protection, which is the perfect time for a Deadly Rollick onto that Yawgmoth. So Deadly Rollick goes over the Yawgmoth, exiling it, and that is enough for our opponent to scoop there. I don't know if it'll show you in the chat. Oh, it does show you the chat, so I'll let you have a read through that, but basically this guy said that he's not going to play against extra turns. I don't typically play turns, but this is a thematic one for the deck, so did decide to run it in this list obviously, and it's not the worst extra turn anyone's ever seen. I think we're already going off here. Yeah, if it wasn't for the goad on Alela, our opponents would be able to better gang up on us, but the fact that we're forcing them to go in at each other really makes it difficult. Anyway, in response, a horse is sacrificed to get rid of a Fairy Rogue token with the Yawgmoth. Deadly Rollick resolves on Yawgmoth, exiling it, and then Teferi's Protection will resolve and have our opponent phase out. And then at the bottom of the stack is the Notorious Throng, so we get 3 fairy tokens and an extra turn. Each of those cantrips, so we draw into more obnoxious instants in the form of Unwind and Snap, which untaps our stuff. A Fairy Harbinger is a means of tutoring fairies. And it's at this point that our opponent decides to scoop it up, unfortunately, so if you're seeing this video then I apologise, it was the best of a bad bunch, and especially sorry that it was a replay as opposed to live gameplay, but I did want to gauge the reaction of Alela Cunning Conqueror. If you want to see more from this commander, then you can let me know in the comments, and I'll keep an eye on the likes and on the views as well. Big thank you to you all for watching this one. Hopefully we'll have better luck with it next time, and I will see you all in the next video. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.